You are now listening to the Business Banter podcast, where top minds in business collide and wisdom is exposed. My name is Jack Kozakowski. I'll be your host for the day. My passion for this podcast is that you walk away better personally and professionally from the amazing stories that are told. Now let's get ready to banter. Super stoked for today's podcast of Business Banter. Today we have Gabe Villamizar. And if you don't know Gabe, you really should. So Gabe is one of the top minds on LinkedIn right now. He has a phenomenal career. He was at Southwest, then at Inside Sales, at Higher View. Now he's at Lucid Chart. So what's the interesting thing about Gabe is that he's actually, his title is Evangelist. So I don't know if you've been seeing this with companies, but it's somewhat becoming a little bit of a new trend. So we talk about what is an evangelist inside an organization and how can they help you move the needle? How can they help you drive more leads, drive more demos, and ultimately drive more business? But on top of that, Gabe is just a great guy, and he's got an amazing story. So I'm excited to share that with you. All right, let's get ready to banter. Welcome back to Business Banter podcast. I'm like, dude, this is like my dude of all dudes. But the thing about Gabe is like he's got a really interesting career path and story. And I kind of want to talk about that and kind of tie that into what the future of evangelism looks like. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Vala Afshar. There's Tiffany Bova. They're both at Salesforce. There's all kinds of, and it's very slow, but there's evangelists popping up. And so Gabe, tell us who your role is over at Lucid Chart.
What's up, man? It's good chatting with you. Thank you for inviting me. So Gabe Villamizar, I'm Global Sales Evangelist here at Lucid Chart. My role here is very unique. It's like I get this asked all the time whenever I speak at a panel, whenever I introduce myself. I almost don't want to say I'm an evangelist. I just say I do marketing and sales.
Why? Why do you say that?
Well, that's what I even tell my wife, because I mean, if I have a hard time explaining it, my wife is like, what should I tell people? And I'm like, just say I do marketing, and that's it, or sales, whatever. So what happens is, how they got into this role here is it's a combination of the network that I have, the time that I put into building relationships through digital channels such as LinkedIn and Twitter specifically, and the fact of how many trade shows I've attended and how much value I've added to the people that I've connected along the way for the past 6 years. So I became, I guess, quote unquote, an evangelist here at Lucid Chart a year ago. So if you think about my career, it took me 5 years, you could say, for a company such as Lucid Chart to identify and want to pay me to promote Lucid Chart, right? So that's one thing I think right off the bat, like if you truly want to, I don't think anybody grows up or anybody right now says, I want to be an evangelist. I didn't, that's not what you know me. We've known each other for years. I started in sales. I went to marketing, and now I'm evangelist hybrid role. But what it really truly boils down to is adding value, not just promoting and evangelizing the brand, best practices in the sales tech ecosystem, because we have Lucid Chart Sales Solution, but truly just helping teams inside the organization achieve their goals. So helping product create a roadmap, product understanding, research, interviews, testimonials, helping sales with demos, setting appointments, sales training, coaching, social selling, marketing with messaging, branding, positioning, and demand generation. I believe that's where I get pulled in from different teams on a day-to-day, weekly, quarterly basis within those three customer-facing roles and some customer success as well.
So I actually want to sum it up in a really easy, like what Gabe is essentially he's a master connector. You're a master networker, right? I mean, the thing about most organizations today is if they want to get an influencer on a podcast, or they want to get somebody that's an expert in their field to talk about them or to look at the product or whatever, they have to pay those people, right? What you essentially let a company do as an evangelist is you save them a lot of time, and you get to connections and to the people they need on their team, talking about them a lot faster than anybody else can do it.
No, you've hit on a really good point. Obviously, like the reputation company here, Lucidchart is this. It almost becomes a joke. Like, oh, we need to get a hold of Mark Benioff. Hey, just loop Gabe in. You know, it's that type of reputation, and you're spot on. You know, again, it's been 5 years in the making that I'm still even grasping kind of what this is.
Yeah.
Like put specific words, and I know, and you've done a great job, you know, what you've said so far, but connecting and nurturing those relationships over time, and right now I'm cashing in or cashing out on those relationships. I've been putting so much value, right? And, you know, down the road, I was playing the long-term game, putting value throughout every single year. So that way I knew and hope and have faith and you know, thought, I'm like, down the road in my career, I hope and I know I'm going to need these individuals, or I'm going to need, you know, to ask some favors later on. But if I can add as much value as possible, then that favor, that call to action is going to be a no-brainer. Whereas most sales reps truly just go for the jugular from day one, where I have 5 years of freaking, you know, legwork on that. So.
Yeah, and let's just talk your background. You were at what, Southwest, then Inside Sales, then HireVue, and Lucid. So like you've been at like high growth startups. You've been in like heavily involved in the community, the sales community, the marketing community, and you've just been heavily involved. And when I say that, is like you're just a master connector. I mean, you've been introducing people to from an upside perspective of, hey, I'm at a conference. Yo, by the way, you need to meet so-and-so. They could probably use your solution, or you two should collaborate on this project. And what you've done is you've essentially scaled when you say value, because I like to like, in my opinion, like define value, because people kind of overuse that. But that's what you've essentially done, is you've used connections over the past 5-6 years. So, you know, we talked about this, you're just a master connector, and you've kind of like built up your relationship chips, right? over time.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how much business Gabe sent to me, right? I mean, you know, introduced me to people, like randomly just gets introductions and things like that. Now let's apply that to like the business value for Lucidcharts though. So, I mean, it's not just that you're a master connector. I mean, you know, and you've worked in the space for a really long time. So, you know, there's two or three elements to this, right? The other one is sales. So, you know, part of what is your objective as an evangelist? Like, how are you measured?
Yeah, as a sales evangelist here at Lucidchart, a few things that I try to measure is, for example, how much content am I creating, right? So let's say I can commit to either doing 1 article per month, 2, 3 per month, and then X per quarter. And then saying, out of these articles, I want to drive X amount of demos. So that's one measurement that I can, you know, measure. And I align myself with demand gen. If demand gen is pushing ebook downloads, or if demand gen wants more demo requests, or demand gen wants more templates, I obviously align myself to those. And obviously that's going to make sales happier, because I'm driving even more relevant leads, because demand gen might be targeting a persona with paid ads, where my content, right, is more relevant because it's in front of the right persona, because I've been you know, because of my background at InsideSales.com, because of my background at HireVue, now Lucidchart, right? Most of my audience has been marketing and sales and tech. So it's a perfect combination. It's a perfect storm of, okay, my background and relationship and network is in marketing, sales, and tech. Okay, and we happen to sell a product, right? Lucidchart sales solution that aligns to that persona. So my audience, right, of like, let's say, combined with Twitter and LinkedIn, of 70,000 relevant, super highly efficient professionals, is more valuable than the ads that are they're leaving it up to the algorithm and the platform to put in front of the right eyeballs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's cold traffic, right? I mean, you know, most companies are pounding the pavement on trying to get cold people into the funnel, and what happens with you is you're essentially built your own social networks to the point where you are your own like organic traffic, right? People believe in what you know. They know that you're credible. Like you're not just on social media pitching. You're giving sharing tons of content, educating. But you've done this over years. I mean, it's taken you, how many hours have you invested to get to the point where you can send out a LinkedIn post and get 150 people to sign up for something?
Man, it took me about 4 years. I really started cashing out on LinkedIn engagement about 2 years ago. And Jack and I recently, with our Lucidchart sales solution account mapping LinkedIn Sales Navigator feature, I think broke some records, at least in our friendship. I did a post on LinkedIn a month ago, literally asking and requesting for a demo, saying, if you want to learn more about our Lucidchart and LinkedIn Sales Navigator integration, let's chat. Okay, I did one. I got 25 demo requests from that in the comments and through direct messages. Jack did one similar. You got similar, engagement on it?
Yeah, it was insane. Like, I mean, I think I
Right.
saw like there was 3 enterprise sales directors in the comments that asked for a demo of it, right?
Like, if you were to tell a sales rep right now upstairs, hey, do a post and get 25 demo requests from it, they couldn't do that. They don't have the clouds, they don't have the network and the years, right? So one thing that for those of you out there listening to this, it's you need to put in the time. You need to plant those seeds. You need to care and really work hard over years. This is not overnight success. At the end of the day, the person who remains in the game the longest is the one that wins. That's really what it is. Man, if you got lucky and then you hit the jackpot early on, get it, then good for you, great. But that's not most cases. A lot of people get excited, they do a LinkedIn post and they get tons of engagement, and then bam, hitting a grand slam as a Major League Baseball player does nothing. It's all about consistent line drives, consistent doubles, triples, and consistent on batting average is what truly builds a network. And like San Graham from Flip My Funnel says, without a community, you're a commodity. So truly believe in that, either way it's an intentional community or like indirect community, which is my connections, right? My connections are listening to me by choice because I'm adding value. My connections are not subscribing to me, even though they're connected to me on LinkedIn, and they hope, and I hope, that my status updates and my posts show up on their newsfeed. And they're choosing to engage with my posts out of their own free will, depending if they perceive me as a leader that I'm adding value. Does that make sense?
Well, and as an evangelist, I think evangelist is what the future of micro influence looks like, right? At the macro scale inside an organization. I mean, essentially what you are doing is you're kind of leading the community between the internal Lucidchart organization and the external, and you're kind of tying the two together, right?
Absolutely. For example, here we're going to be sponsoring Dreamforce, and the team came to me and said, hey, Gabe, who do you think we should partner with at Dreamforce, right? And obviously, I have the network, I have the relationships, so I can get better pricing, I can negotiate better than anybody, I can get us the best partnership, and then with the best company that aligns with our product, and I can get that quickly. Whereas if anybody were to do that, right, they would cost them way more money. It would take them twice as long to get a response because it would be a cold outreach to some individual at a company that person's never heard of. But they really rely on me, and they're starting to see, I mean, it's been a learning process for our team here internally. Like, oh, what does Gabe do? What is an evangelist, right? And they're still even learning, and I'm still learning in this evangelist role how to really add the most value and how to prioritize my time to maximize what I can bring to the table and grow the product ultimately and close more dollars.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, your job is you're working on one segment, which you're working on. You're involved in multiple segments, but your main segment is to grow the new Lucidchart and sales tool, right?
Absolutely. Like my compensation and bonus is tied to, obviously, I have a base salary, and then a big chunk of it is like, did we meet a revenue goal, right? Which it's in my motivation, not only because I love business and I love where I work and the product, right? Which is awesome that all that aligns, and a lot of people don't have that privilege, but it's in my best motive and in my best scenario that I want us to hit our number. Otherwise, I don't get that bonus. And I put myself in that situation on purpose. And that's a lot of, if you're thinking about having an evangelist, I highly recommend you tie him or her to revenue.
Yeah, they have to be tied to revenue, right? I mean, otherwise, like they're just going to be. Yeah, I mean, it's not just all fun and games posting on LinkedIn and Twitter all day. And
absolutely, that's what people see. People see the fun, the public, the awareness, the fun stuff, right? But there's a lot of science, if you want to call it that, or art behind that with a motive. Little do people know there's a strategy and a motive behind it. Not being secretive about it, but just truly trying to be strategic on everything I post. On brand gives you attention equals trust authority, and authority gives you the power to ask and then get something in return.
Yeah, and then so I was lucky enough to be part of a really cool thing that you guys did in Salt Lake City for the last conference. I can't remember what's the name of this big conference there.
It is a Lucid Charlie Roundtable. The
Yeah, so
sales.
you essentially with your PR gal, you guys put this event together, which I thought was pretty cool. So you brought like some of the top sales influencers, sales trainers, sales coaches, and you kind of brought them in, right? You kind of brought all these people in, and you were kind of doing a launch of the product to get not only people's feedback, but to get other people talking about you, because you guys are really good. You kind of understand that. So part of the role as an evangelist, how much of your time is spent with micro influencers and and I say that in multiple different ways. Like micro influencer could be somebody that, it could be a channel partner, whatever that is, right? Somebody that could give you guys social visibility and brand awareness. How much of your job is spent on that aspect of it?
Quite a bit. And most people that I've noticed only spend time with micro influencers whenever they have an ask coming soon. Where my approach has been have consistent touch points with these micro influencers on a given, consistently over weeks, months, and quarters. So that way, when a need or a goal, is presented to us, then we assess what's our arsenal, what's our, tools available or audiences that we have. And then if it makes sense to engage with the micro influencers, that they're readily available for us, if we've added value along the way, like you say, get visible and add value. Love that quote that you taught me, Jack. But at the end of the day, it's like, again, I can't just keep hitting that drum of being consistent and just truly creating those metrics. Okay, am I going to engage with 10 micro influencers this quarter? I'm a huge believer in OKRs, objective and key results. So here at Lucid Charts, as an evangelist, every quarter I have 2 or 3 objectives or goals, and then 3 key results for each objective. What that means is, here are the 3 things or key results that are going to help me achieve that objective. So that is shared publicly with everybody in the company. So anybody can see what the heck it is I'm doing if they really wanted to just find out what it is I'm doing in our Google Drive or Confluence or whatever. But aligning those goals, again, and over communicating everything is what I'm starting to learn. And consistently proving the value that you bring, that's key in an evangelist role at a startup. I mean, like you said earlier, you see Tiffany Bova and Val Afshar and other evangelists. These are like Fortune 100 companies, evangelists at Fortune 100 companies. It's very rare, from my understanding that I've seen so far, having an evangelist at a startup, meaning a company under 1,000 employees. They're very few, because a startup is counting every single dollar very, very meticulously, meaning they need to really just stay afloat and survive and close deals and do everything and be super lean while being profitable, obviously, and doing their best to become profitable. So consistently showing and proving the value has been key to the success that I've had so far as a year as an evangelist.
How does internal relationships with employees play into your role? I just have to say, I've been there, and everybody, from my vantage point, and maybe they were just putting on a front that day. It could be possible. Everybody's eyes light up when Gabe walks by, and Gabe's all like cheery and just good old Gabe. How much does that play into your role as an evangelist?
It's big, because sometimes I ask things of them that are very uncommon, meaning like, hey, there's this post out there, everybody engage with that. If I didn't develop a relationship, if I didn't go upstairs and walk to them and do that small talk, if I didn't do that one-on-one coaching session, I just got done coaching the entire customer success team on how to use LinkedIn for retention and expansion of customers, right? So earlier this morning, there's 25 customer success reps that pretty much are in charge of all of thousands and millions of our customers, right? Mid-market accounts, enterprise, and strategic. So they're super pumped. After the training was over, they want to have one-on-one sessions. So I've had to position myself as like, okay, I'm here to add value to you. Your goal is not to become like Gabe Villamizar. I don't want you to become me. Like, that's not why I'm coaching you. Your goal is not to just be everywhere on LinkedIn. Let me show you a few specific tactics that are going to help you renew faster, get a hold of that buyer way in advance before they ghost you, to increase your appointment held ratios, right? So I've been able to do that with the data analytics team. I've been able to do that with the customer success team, with the machine learning, and all these other, data teams. What else? Obviously the sales team, and so on, the ADR, SDR. So because I've been giving value, I mean, again, nobody's telling me these things of what I need to do. As an evangelist, you truly are a master of your own schedule, and you choose, and then I present those to the CMO, Nathan Rollins. He approves, right? But it's such a new role that I choose my own schedule. I choose whether I'm in this room or outside, and what happens is, at the end of the day, it's how I manage my time and how people see me internally, and the value I bring.
That's cool. So, I mean, big part of your evangelism is teaching other people, making more evangelists, right? I mean, your job is to...
it amplifies. It amplifies each other. Like, it's like, again, baseball or basketball. Having one all-star team and a team is not good enough. What if you have two or three, right? What if you have like freaking, all-star? Like, it's like creating an all-star team, and it takes time. And not everybody wants to like really learn this stuff, and that's fine. But you can amplify and get way bigger results if you have a bunch of people on board with what you're doing.
I mean, it almost seems like your role, and I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong or right here, but like, I mean, your role might be the evangelist role might be the future of the aligning sales and marketing.
Could be, man. Could be. I mean, I'm sitting in marketing and I report obviously to our CMO. From a sales perspective, I spend and I connect more with our sales team. Not going to lie. I could easily have, report to our, somebody in our sales leadership, but I pretty much have a dotted line, and I don't need to manage them, or I don't need to, be a lead, a team lead there, but I can tell that because of what I've done for them, what I've coached them, and how they perceive me as the leader, it's enough to influence them and help them along their way while helping me achieve my goals, which at the end of the day, help Lucidchart Sales Solution achieve the company's goals.
Yeah. But I mean, because your measurement, if your measurement's demo requests or demos, right. I mean, that's a sales qualification, right? But at the same point, you're driving new downloads and new signups through a marketing perspective, which, let's be honest, at this day and age, lead generation and prospecting are the same thing, right? Just done by two different departments.
No, that's spot on. And it's crazy how this came to be. Again, going back to like, I never, had in mind I want to become an evangelist. It happened to be, I happened to be at the right time, at the right place. We happened to launch a product that I truly believed in, account mapping, relationship mapping, because the tech industry wants to go deeper, specifically sales reps who sell into big organizations. They want to go deeper and they're single threading, but they know that the way to be successful is by multi-threading. So you can visualize who reports to who are the individuals in the buying circle, who are all the stakeholders, and map that. And I'm like, dang, nobody's doing this really. So because of that, my network, my previous work history, relationships, I'm like, it's a perfect combination of things. So again, if you're out there, you're a startup, and you're like, oh, damn, we should hire an evangelist. Like, maybe you already have an internal evangelist and you don't know it. Maybe you could easily hire somebody that's already an evangelist and bring them on board, and kudos to you. But
what about turning your CEO? I mean, it's not that hard to turn your CEO into the evangelist, right? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of startups do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on like how willing the CEO it is. Is this forced upon them? Is the CEO young? Is he old? Is the CEO savvy with technology or not? Like, I've seen all sorts of success. There's nothing that just saying, hey, this is the most predictable way that CEO is going to engage. But I mean, look at Dave Grohl, our president and CEO. It took me a year and a half to convince him to post on LinkedIn. And then for a whole year at 8 a.m, every Saturday, he posted a piece of content. And what happens is our VP of people said throughout that year, 7 out of 10 individuals had seen Dave Grohl's post when they interviewed. So when a candidate came on board and said, how did you hear about Lucidchart? Like, oh, I just saw Dave Grohl's post on LinkedIn. 7 out of 10, dude. Are you kidding me? So not only will it help you close deals and get awareness, it can also help you hire the best talent in your area as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's another big piece to that is I guess I'm my own evangelist for creation agency and
Big time.
Skillslab. Like we don't do any, I mean, we do some paid media. We do marketing, don't get me wrong, but like we really heavily focus on just me going out, creating content, using my connections.
Like this. I mean, this is what you're doing. You reached out to me, you're interviewing me, you're doing this with hundreds of other people. Then you're breaking down this content into 20 different, this waterfall effect, breaking this into 20 different assets, promoting those organically and paid, and something sticks. And then you obviously double down on it and then and move on from there,
Yeah, I mean, how many CEOs are actually going to invest the time to do this? I don't know. Not very many. I wish more would, right?
Yeah, and you can't outsource it. Like this whole thing of building your relationships, your network, you cannot outsource it. You can be taught, you can be coached, but the CEO truly needs to be with the ideas. That's from my experience, that's how you win in the long term. They might be able to do a short term, but people can just smell inauthentic content right away these days.
Yeah.
If it's written by somebody else, if it's written by a PR agency, if it's written by a consultant, even if they know the CEO's voice.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's the thing as an agency, like we work directly with the company's marketing team, right? I mean, we're saying like you're creating the content. Yeah. We'll worry about how to distribute it and get it in front of all the right people, but like we can't create this content for you.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, and I think that's a good way to start about it. A lot of companies, sometimes the marketing team doesn't take the initiative to do that, or sometimes they don't know where to start. A good place to start is getting a company like yours, a creation agency, and outsourcing that. You show the ropes to the marketing team, and the marketing team takes off,
Yeah.
And they take it internally. But somebody needs to give them a push, whether internally or externally, to do that. But at the end of the day, the CEO needs to like truly want to do this and do that, him or her,
where do you see the future of this role as evangelist? What do you see it? What does it look like in the next 5 years? Is it something you think is going to be heavily adopted? What are your thoughts?
I mean, along the same lines of micro-influencer, we're starting to see a lot of this in the B2C world. It's more relevant to, and you get more bang for your buck if you go to select an area, let's say in the Salt Lake City, Utah area. Instead of hiring Brad Pitt for him to promote my brand, what if I could hire all these micro-influencers in the Salt Lake City, Utah area, let's say 50 mommy bloggers, and then have them promote my brand, right? I mean, obviously Brad Pitt will have an impact, but in B2C, it's been proven that these micro-influencers have more attention and have bigger reach, more relevant reach than a celebrity endorsement or such. So we're starting to see more of that in B2B. We're scratching the surface on micro-influencers. Imagine like if you have B2B micro-influencer platform that you can say, here's all the 20 influencers, evangelists, whatever you want to call it, that can promote your brand on LinkedIn. Okay, like there's not a platform out there that's paid endorsements. Maybe LinkedIn doesn't allow that, or I don't know, that allows you, but there's hundreds of B2C micro-influencer pages or portals where I can become a creator, okay, and get paid $100 to tweet something or do this or that. So where we're headed, I think more people are going to jump on this because they're going to take digital relationships and networking more seriously because they're realizing that automation can only get you so far. Technology can only get you so far. EQ, you can't really replicate it, and it's not truly something that you can just teach to somebody and force upon somebody. So those individuals who start to realize that, like in my shoes, like, oh crap, I'm passionate about this. I have the network, I have the relationships. I believe more people like me are going to like find that they're at the right time at the right place and they can transform into an evangelist and add value. So I think it's a discovery phase right now.
I'm going to say like, we're going to define adding value as adding business value, right? Because I think, adding value is like I said, but you're adding tremendous business value to Lucidchart. I mean, that thing is,
I hope so, yeah.
well, I mean, just from my vantage point, like I wouldn't even know who Lucidchart was if it wasn't for you, to be fair. Like I wouldn't even know that Lucidchart for sales even existed, right? If it wasn't for you. Yeah. I mean, it's really hard. I think this is where a lot of brands are struggling is it's really hard to get outside of what network you have. And where your brand can only market to so many people. Only so many people care about your brand. What people really care about is the people inside your brand or the people outside of your brand. that are talking about you that have built credibility with a certain audience that aligns with your product.
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen a bunch of reports that we're at an all-time with so much information overload, with so much fake news. The world is very skeptical about everything they read and everybody they meet, especially businesses and companies. So we are gravitating towards believing, trusting, and being influenced more by humans, let's say in business, than a company. So as we head in more and more into that direction, more evangelists also will pop up, because if we truly are believing and trusting in individuals, why not market to them, or why not kind of communicate and go through them instead of going business to an individual, go business and then evangelist to the individual.
Yeah, I mean, the evangelist is almost like the mouthpiece of credibility.
It's just almost like a bridge, man. Like that,
Yep.
I mean, as I'm just thinking about this out loud, because this is the first interview that I've done about evangelism, which is fascinating to me. It's just like truly a bridge. It's somebody that has built this freaking sick, bridge, like Golden Gate Bridge, and they have the way to the audience that you want to reach.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, well, let's end it there. That's good. Well, I appreciate you joining me, man. And, if you guys haven't connected with Gabe, I'm guessing most people on here that are going to listen to this probably already connected with you on LinkedIn. But, Gabe is absolutely an amazing human being, believe it or not. But if you want to connect with Gabe, where should they connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Gabe Via Mazar, Twitter, Gabe Via Mazar, and do it big, man. Thanks for having me. You're rock.
Brother. Thanks for coming on.
Bye.